Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Yeah.
We're continuing our journey through powerful enslaved narratives.
Oh, this is a good one.
And today,
It is.
we're diving deep into Booker T. Washington's autobiography,
Right.
Up from Slavery.
Up from Slavery. Yeah, this is,
Have you read this one?
I have read this one. This is one of those books that, like, every African-American kid had to read in high school.
Okay.
You know, it's just one of those things. And yeah, I think I actually read it a couple of times.
Wow.
But it's always good to revisit it.
Yeah, well, what's fascinating about this book is it isn't just a personal story, right?
Right.
It's a powerful abolitionist text that gives us this glimpse into the realities of slavery.
Yeah.
And just this incredible spirit of those who endured it.
And I think even beyond the abolitionist part, it's a fascinating look at this period of American history.
Absolutely.
And you know, the challenges that that Black people faced during Reconstruction and just trying to build lives for themselves.
Exactly. And we get to uncover the man behind the myth, right?
Yeah.
Unraveling his journey from an enslaved child to a national icon.
And think about it, like this is a guy who's born into slavery.
Yeah,
And he becomes an advisor to presidents.
I know.
Like that's incredible.
I'm really curious to explore just the brilliance and contradictions that make his story resonate even today.
Yes, yes. And there's definitely contradictions. There's definitely things that, you know, people, you know, even back then had problems with.
Right.
But yeah, it's a fascinating story.
For sure. One of the things that struck me as I was reading it again was how the book emphasizes education as a pathway to freedom and advancement. It's woven throughout the entire narrative.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's interesting because he doesn't just talk about, you know, education in a general sense.
Right.
He's very specific about the kind of education that he believes is necessary.
Right. His approach to education was very specific, wasn't it?
Yes, very much so. He believed in a practical hands-on approach, something he learned from the example of Samuel Armstrong,
Okay.
the founder of Hampton Institute.
Got it.
Now, Armstrong, in turn, was deeply influenced by his time studying under President Mark Hopkins at Williams College.
So it's like this chain of mentorship, each person shaping the next generation's approach to education.
Exactly. It's like you can trace this lineage of thought.
Yeah.
And this philosophy really shines through in Up from Slavery. You know, remember that anecdote where Washington observes a class at another university and they're just reciting wrecked economic theory?
Yes.
And he contrasts that with a Tuskegee student creating a practical plan
Oh, yeah. That's a good
for
one.
a family's betterment. And he's really highlighting the power of applied knowledge.
That's such a great example because it shows how Washington wasn't just interested in, like, filling students' heads with facts.
Right.
Well,
Not just book learning.
he wanted to equip them with the skills to actually improve their lives and their community.
Make a difference in the world, yeah.
Exactly. And that belief was clearly rooted in his own experiences. His story is just a powerful testament to resilience
Oh,
in
absolutely.
the face of hardship.
It's a story of overcoming incredible odds.
It is.
I mean, from his impoverished beginnings in a typical log cabin, the lack of any known family history, to his early experiences with labor, you know, he takes us on quite a journey.
he doesn't shy away from the hard truths either.
No, he doesn't.
Like that anecdote where he talks about his mother cooking a chicken late at night to feed her children.
Right.
He doesn't know how she got it or where it came from, but, you know, he's like, she's a victim of the system of slavery. Like,
Yeah.
this is what's happening.
It's a survival tactic. I
Exactly.
mean, when you're denied, you know, basic human rights and dignity,
Yeah.
you do what you have to do to survive.
It's a really poignant moment, and it speaks to just this complex relationship enslaved people had with freedom. You know, they were forced to make these difficult choices within a system that was literally designed to dehumanize them.
Absolutely. And it's a stark reminder of, you know, the moral compromises that were forced upon them by the institution of slavery.
And then there's that thought-provoking and, yes, controversial statement where Washington suggests that Black people in America were actually better off than those in Africa
Yeah, that's a tough one.
because of the skills they had developed through their forced labor.
It's a statement that's really hard to grapple with.
It is. It makes you stop and think, right?
It does, and it shows how his experiences really shaped his worldview.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember the context, right? He's writing this in the late 19th century, a time when racist ideas about African inferiority were still prevalent.
Yeah.
And while his statement is problematic, you can see how his early life working in the salt furnace, enduring the dangerous conditions of a coal mine, shaped his belief in the dignity of labor. He saw firsthand how these skills, even those forced upon them, could be a source of pride and a path to economic independence.
But it also raises some really tough questions, doesn't it? What does true liberation really look like?
Right.
Is economic success enough?
These are questions we're still grappling with as a society.
We are.
And, it's this tension, this wrestling with complex realities
Yeah.
that makes Washington's story so relevant even today. It's not a simple, straightforward narrative of triumph. It's a story full of nuance and contradiction, forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths about our past and present.
It's fascinating how he ties this back to education.
Yes.
He really believed that developing practical skills was essential for Black Americans to gain a foothold in a society that was still deeply unequal.
Mhm.
It was his way of finding a path forward in a world that wasn't yet ready for full equality.
Exactly. And this leads us to the period after emancipation when a powerful hunger for knowledge swept through Black communities.
Wow.
I mean, imagine entire communities, young and old, flocking to schools and Sunday schools, desperate to learn.
Oh, yeah.
Washington describes it as a whole race trying to go to school.
There's a real sense of urgency in his descriptions, isn't there?
Yes.
Like they knew education was the key to unlocking a better future.
Absolutely. And amidst all of this fervor, there's this beautiful story about his mother
Yes.
making him a cap to wear to school and her refusal to go into debt to buy him a store hat.
Oh, I love that story.
It's such a small detail,
It is.
but it speaks volumes about the values instilled in him from a young age, right? That
Yep.
emphasis on self-reliance and integrity, it was woven into the fabric of his upbringing.
Precisely. And these values would serve him well as he embarked on his own incredible journey to Hampton Institute.
Yeah,
Which, I mean, can you imagine,
I know.
young Booker T. Washington fueled by this burning desire for knowledge,
Yeah.
setting off on foot to reach Hampton Institute?
It wasn't just a trip.
It wasn't just a trip, it was a mission.
It was a mission, and every step of the way, he's met with the harsh realities of a society still deeply divided,
Right.
simply because of the color of his skin.
Exactly. He had to overcome so many challenges just to get there.
Just to get there, yeah.
Simply because of the color of his skin.
Right, and think about this for a minute. He finds himself in Richmond, hungry, exhausted, and he's forced to unload pig iron just to earn a meal.
That story about having to unload pig iron for breakfast because he was out of money,
It's incredible, right?
it really shows just the depths of his determination.
Mhm.
He's willing to do whatever it took to reach his goal.
Whatever it took, yeah, and that grit, that determination,
Yeah.
it's a reminder that even the most iconic figures, they had to fight their way to opportunity.
They did, and then when he finally arrived at Hampton,
Oh, it must have felt like stepping into a different world.
it was like stepping into a different world, wasn't it?
It was.
Regular meals, tablecloths, toothbrushes, things that we might take for granted. But for him, they were revelations.
He described it as a new kind of existence.
Wow.
And you can sense that awe and wonder in his writing.
I love that.
Yeah, it's palpable.
But even in this new environment, he wasn't afraid of hard work.
No, not at all. He worked as a janitor to pay for his board.
Right.
But it's clear that he thrived in that environment.
He did. And he was surrounded by these inspiring figures,
Yeah.
like Miss Mary F. Mackey,
Oh, yes.
the head teacher.
Yeah, the head teacher who wasn't afraid to roll up her sleeves and work alongside her students, cleaning, preparing the dormitories,
Yeah.
leading by example.
It's powerful, isn't it? This woman, in her position of authority, demonstrating that dignity of all labor.
Absolutely. And, it's at Hampton where Washington really begins to hone his public speaking skills.
That's right, yeah.
Studying under Miss Lord, participating in debating societies.
And didn't he even start his own group?
He did.
To maximize those spare 20 minutes between dinner and evening study.
Talk about making the most of your time.
Talk about making the most of your time.
He had this incredible drive to learn and grow.
He did, and then there's his work with the Plucky class in the night school, where he began putting his educational philosophy into practice, teaching formerly enslaved people practical skills they could use to improve their lives.
Right.
It was a testing ground for many of the ideas he would later implement at Tuskegee.
It was like a microcosm of what he would later create on a larger scale.
And speaking of Tuskegee, what a story.
Oh, Tuskegee, that's a whole other chapter.
Arriving in this small Alabama town
Yeah.
with nothing but a vision and a handful of eager students.
A vision and a whole lot of faith.
It's almost unbelievable what he accomplished.
It's a testament to his leadership, his ability to inspire others.
It is, but he didn't start with much, did he?
No, he didn't. Just a dilapidated shanty for a classroom.
A dilapidated shanty and a lot of faith.
A lot of faith and the belief that education could change everything.
It's incredible. And he was right there alongside his students.
Oh, absolutely.
Clearing land, building classrooms, even teaching them how to make bricks.
He was a hands-on leader, not afraid to get dirty.
He truly believed in leading by example, but it wasn't always easy.
No, it wasn't.
He had to convince many of his students, who had been teachers themselves,
Right.
of the value of industrial education.
Which they saw as beneath them, a step backward.
They did. He really had to challenge their perceptions, didn't he?
He did. He had to help them see that learning a trade, mastering a skill, wasn't a denial of their intellect, but a pathway to economic empowerment.
It's like he was saying, we can be intellectuals and creators, but we can also be builders and craftsmen.
Exactly. There's dignity in all of it.
Yes.
And it wasn't just about the work itself. It was about owning the process, building something with your own hands.
Right.
That's where the true pride and self-reliance came from.
And that's a message that resonates even today.
Oh, absolutely.
In a world that often prioritizes intellectual pursuits over practical skills, there's something so powerful about remembering the value of working with your hands, of creating something tangible.
Creating something tangible, yes. And Washington's story reminds us that true progress often requires a blend of both.
A blend of both.
A balance of head and hand, theory and practice.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how he navigated all of those complexities.
He did.
And I can't wait to hear more about the challenges and triumphs that he faced as Tuskegee grew.
Well, hold on tight.
I have a feeling this is just the beginning of an incredible journey.
You are absolutely right. It's just the beginning. Oh, it's just the tip of the iceberg building. Tuskegee, it wasn't just about constructing buildings.
Right.
It was about shaping minds and uplifting a community.
And it wasn't a solo effort, was it?
Yeah.
He has some incredible people by his side.
He did. He had a real knack for surrounding himself with talented and dedicated individuals.
People like Warren Logan and Olivia Davidson.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Who truly believed in his vision and were instrumental in bringing it to life.
They were true partners in his mission.
I remember reading about the conditions of those early days at Tuskegee. I mean,
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine starting a school with so little.
It was a humble beginning, to say the least.
Picture this. A dilapidated shanty serving as a classroom students, eager to learn, but lacking even the most basic resources.
It's a testament to their thirst for knowledge that they persevered under such conditions.
And Washington himself going from cabin to cabin, witnessing firsthand the poverty and sometimes misplaced priorities.
Yeah, he talks about that, doesn't he? The contrast between their material circumstances and their aspirations.
He even recounts a story of visiting a family that owned a $60 organ,
Oh, yeah.
but only had a single fork.
That's a classic Washington anecdote.
It's almost comical, but it speaks to a deeper issue, doesn't it? The desire for status symbols over practical necessities.
It does. It highlights a certain disconnect between aspiration and reality.
And Washington recognized this and understood the importance of instilling a different set of values.
Absolutely.
Values grounded in practicality, self-sufficiency, and that dignity of labor.
He wanted to equip them not just with knowledge, but with a whole way of life.
And it wasn't always an easy sell, was it?
No, not at all. He had to challenge their perceptions.
Which brings us to one of my favorite anecdotes from the book. The story of transforming the meaning of Christmas at Tuskegee.
Oh, yes, that's a good one.
It's a powerful example of his cultural influence.
It really is. He takes a holiday traditionally marked by excess
Right.
and turns it into a celebration of deeper meaning.
Focused on family reflection and gratitude.
He wanted to redefine what it meant to celebrate
He didn't just want to educate minds. He wanted to shape character.
and uplift an entire community.
Exactly. And as the school grew, so did the challenges.
That's inevitable, isn't it? Growth always comes with its own set of obstacles.
Fundraising was a constant struggle.
It was a constant battle to keep the lights on and the doors open.
But it's amazing how he always seemed to find a way.
He had a remarkable ability to inspire generosity in others.
Whether through the unexpected kindness of strangers or just sheer determination.
He never gave up on his vision.
Remember that story about the $400 check arriving on the very day it was due?
Oh, talk about divine intervention.
Talk about a miracle.
It's like something out of a movie.
Or the incredible generosity of those two Boston ladies who gifted the school $6,000.
Those were some of his most ardent supporters.
And continued to support Tuskegee for years to come.
They believed in what he was building.
It speaks to the power of belief and the kindness of strangers who saw the potential in his vision.
People who were willing to invest in a better future.
But his challenges weren't just financial, were they?
No, unfortunately not. He still faced constant prejudice and discrimination.
He did, even as he was gaining national recognition.
It's a reminder that progress isn't always linear.
Like that story on the steamboat, where he and a Native American student are denied service in the dining room.
Oh, that's a particularly jarring example.
It highlights the absurdity and pervasiveness of racism at the time.
It shows how deeply ingrained prejudice was.
But what strikes me is how Washington never let these setbacks deter him.
He had this incredible resilience.
He kept his focus on building a strong institution, on achieving tangible results.
He understood that actions often speak louder than words.
And one of the most powerful examples of this is how he instilled a sense of ownership in his students.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
You're thinking of that story about the older student reprimanding a newer one for defacing a building?
Yes. Don't do that. That is our building. I helped put it up. It's such a simple statement.
It is.
But it speaks volumes about the pride that Washington fostered in his students.
They weren't just attending Tuskegee, they were building it.
They were invested in its success.
Brick by brick, alongside their teachers and mentors.
It was collective effort.
And that sense of ownership extended beyond the physical structures.
It became part of their identity.
They were building a legacy, a future for themselves and their community.
They were shaping their own destiny.
It's an incredibly empowering message.
It is, and it's one that transcends time and place.
It does. And as Tuskegee thrived, so did Washington's influence.
His reputation grew along with the school.
He began to gain national recognition.
He became a sought-after speaker and thought leader.
First, with that pivotal address to the National Education Association in Madison, Wisconsin.
That was his entry onto the national stage.
It was. And it seems he had a natural gift for public speaking.
He did. He had a way of connecting with audiences on an emotional level.
He spoke from the heart, drawing on his own experiences to make his points resonate.
He was a master storyteller.
And then, of course, came the Atlanta Exposition Address in 1895.
Ah, yes. The speech that made him a household name?
The one where he famously urges both black and white Americans to cast down your bucket where they are.
Emphasizing economic progress and racial cooperation.
It was a powerful message that resonated with both black and white audiences.
Though it was also interpreted in different ways.
That's what makes it so fascinating, isn't it? It was a message tailored to a specific time and context. Yet it continues to spark debate and discussion.
It does, because it touches on such fundamental issues of race equality and the American dream.
Some saw it as a call for accommodation to white supremacy, while others saw it as a strategic plea for black economic empowerment within the existing social order.
It's a complex legacy and one that continues to be debated.
It is. And even amidst his rising fame, Washington continued to receive recognition for his character and accomplishments.
His reputation preceded him.
He even served as a juror at the Atlanta Exposition.
Imagine that.
And was unanimously elected secretary of the White School Exhibit Division.
That's a testament to the respect he commanded across racial lines.
It's a reminder that his impact wasn't limited to the black community.
He was a figure who transcended boundaries.
He challenged perceptions and forged connections in a society that was desperately in need of healing.
He was a bridge builder in a time of deep division.
And all along he remained grounded, never forgetting where he came from.
That's one of the things I admire most about him.
He was a man of simple pleasures who found joy in the everyday.
Gardening, raising livestock, spending time with loved ones.
He understood that true success wasn't just about external achievements, but about cultivating a life of balance and purpose.
He never let the trappings of fame and success change who he was at his core.
It's inspiring to see how he balanced his public life with just a deep appreciation for the simple things.
He had a groundedness that's really remarkable.
He talks about his love for gardening, raising pigs and chickens, even finding joy in reading biographies.
Yeah, it's like those activities provided him with a sense of peace and perspective.
It's almost a grounding force, isn't it? Amidst all the speeches, fundraising, national attention, he still found solace in those everyday activities.
It speaks to his humility and his recognition that true fulfillment comes from a well-rounded life.
And he certainly didn't rest on his laurels.
No, he didn't. He was always striving for more, always pushing himself and those around him.
He went on to receive an honorary Master of Arts degree from Harvard.
Imagine that, an ex-slave receiving an honorary degree from one of the most prestigious universities in the world.
I know, it's incredible.
And his speech on that occasion was truly moving. He emphasized the need to bridge the gap between the privileged and the underprivileged.
A message that resonates just as strongly today.
It does. It's a timeless call for empathy and understanding.
A recognition that we all have a role to play in creating a more just and equitable society.
It's a challenge to each of us to use our advantages to lift up those who are less fortunate.
and his work continued to gain national recognition. President William McKinley even visited Tuskegee,
Yeah, that was a historic moment.
where he was warmly welcomed by both black and white citizens.
It was a powerful symbol of the progress that had been made.
It's a testament to the respect Washington commanded and the impact Tuskegee had on the surrounding community.
It shows that his message of unity and cooperation was resonating with people from all walks of life.
By this point, Tuskegee had grown to encompass 30 industrial departments
Wow.
and had produced 6,000 graduates
That's an incredible legacy.
who were out there working to improve the lives of others.
It's staggering to think about the ripple effect of his work.
I know.
How he touched the lives of so many people, both directly and indirectly.
So what does it all mean? Up from Slavery isn't just a historical document. It's a timeless story of resilience, ambition, and the transformative power of education.
It's a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable adversity, one person can make a difference.
It also challenges us to think critically about those paths to equality,
Right.
to consider the complexities and contradictions of navigating a society that's still grappling with its history of racial injustice.
It's not a simple story, and there's no easy answers.
Washington's story is just a powerful reminder that the journey toward a more just and equitable world is ongoing,
It's a journey we're all on together.
and it requires each of us to do our part.
To speak out against injustice, to fight for equality, and to create opportunities for those who've been marginalized.
His message of self-reliance, hard work, and the pursuit of excellence continues to resonate today,
It does. It's a timeless message that speaks to the best of the human spirit.
inspiring generations to strive for a better future.
A future where everyone has the chance to reach their full potential.
What I find truly striking is just how relevant his story feels, even now, over a century later.
It's a testament to the enduring power of his message.
The themes of economic justice, the fight against systemic racism, the importance of education and opportunity, these are all issues we're still grappling with today.
And his emphasis on bridging divides, finding common ground, and working together for the betterment of all feels especially relevant in our current climate.
Absolutely.
He understood that progress requires dialogue, empathy, and a willingness to see the humanity in those who are different from us.
Up from Slavery is more than just a book. It's a conversation starter.
It is.
It's a call to action, a reminder that we're all connected and that our destinies are intertwined.
It's a book that everyone should read and reflect on.
And we hope this deep dive has inspired you to do just that.
We hope it sparked some new ideas and perspectives.
If you're eager to learn more about Booker T. Washington's life and work, we encourage you to seek out more information about Tuskegee Institute and the ongoing impact of his legacy.
There is a wealth of resources out there waiting to be explored.
That's it for this deep dive into Up from Slavery. We hope you found this journey insightful and thought-provoking.
And we encourage you to continue exploring these powerful narratives, to engage in conversations that challenge your perspectives and inspire you to act.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.